Well, welcome everyone to OCP's 2020 Summer Choral Reading Session. We're going to wait just a few moments to allow more people into the room before we start. So just give us a moment or two here as we admit everybody from the waiting room. Yeah, so now it looks like we have everybody in, and some more will probably come in as we begin. Well, it's great to have you all here. My name is Scot Crandal, and in addition to working in the Music Development Department at OCP, I'm the Director of Music at the Episcopal Parish of St. John the Baptist here in Portland, Oregon.
And my name is Angela Westhoff-Johnson. I'm the Director of Product Development here at OCP and the Music Director at St. Mary's Catholic Cathedral, also here in Portland. While we initially had a plan to bring these choral reading sessions to various cities throughout the country, we're happy that we can still share some repertoire ideas with you in a virtual, live, interactive format.
And today we're going to be sharing 15 choral anthems and hymn arrangements for various uses and seasons of the church year. Whether you're needing repertoire for virtual choir projects, longer range planning, for small socially distanced groups such as quartets or trios, or if you just love choral music and want to experience it with other music directors, we're grateful that you're able to join us today. Today's live session will be recorded for sharing at ocp.org, so there's a chance that your shining face will appear, or you can turn your camera off if you'd like.
Of course, the elephant in the room is this: when will we all be able to gather with our choirs again and sing? As I'm sure you know, the answer to that question is still pretty uncertain, but we know that you, like Scott and myself, are always looking for useful, beautiful music for your choirs. And if you feel the spirit, sing along with the recordings.
Yes. Angela and I, we're going to be sharing the printed music to the screen while playing the audio recording, or you can use the PDF file that was sent to you and is also available in chat. Closing other apps on your computer may help with the performance of your computer, and because of the number of people, we'll keep the muting on as much as it would be fun for us all to talk together. If you'd like, you can make sure your name appears correctly in Zoom, making it easier for colleagues to recognize each other. And in chat, you can message individually if you'd like to touch base with someone you might know. In Zoom, you can either select speaker view to only view the person speaking, or gallery view to see many people at once. Also, we'll be posting helpful information in the chat area as we go, and feel free to ask questions there too. So thank you in advance to OCP employees Trudy Vandehey, Laura Ringler, and Daniel Partridge for helping with Zoom hosting and chat content.
So let's get started. Let's look at this beautiful arrangement of the Alma Redemptoris Mater chant by Robert Benson for SATB choir, piano, and cello. This Marian hymn is super useful during Advent, even Christmas, or other Marian feasts throughout the year. So let's take a listen. It's such a lovely arrangement. Really, I think it's more than just an arrangement. And choirs don't have to know the chant to love what Robert Benson has done. But if you do know the chant, which I think every choir should know that chant, you may appreciate this arrangement even more. I especially love how he begins and ends with that incipit played on the cello. I've used it many times, and I do have to say it works better with piano than with organ. So it's a gem.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very excited to share this next piece because the composer, Rebecca Oswald, is a member of my parish. The piece was composed to be sung at her previous parish when new members are welcomed. But it really works all kinds of times throughout the year. The melody is especially strong, and the choral arrangement has some nice variety. There is also a hymn version, since the basic melody is very singable by the assembly. You'll see that in the octavo. Here is The Light on the Hill. We're going to pause it there just in the interest of time. But I really like how Rebecca put in that Alleluia, Amen section before going on to the quiet final verse
Mhm.
that you'll see here on page 10. Oh, you'll also see on page 10 the hymn version here. Very helpful. So anyway, now we're going to move on to some Christmas music with a title by Larry Tice called Listen to the Wind. It's in our Jubilate Deo Octava series, which features more advanced music for treble and children's choirs. I really like how it's scored for two-part choir and optional solo instrument, making it approachable for children's choirs or even SA choirs. It's easily learned, and yet it has like a timeless quality to the melody. And the haunting introduction on the piano really sets the stage for the rest of this beautiful arrangement.
Listen to the wind sing a lonely tune through the barren branches blowing. On a winter's night, the world asleep. What will come to pass, not knowing. Baby in a manger in Bethlehem, of the Father's love begotten, chosen for a world so incomplete, with a promise not Faithful Father, we sing your praise for your Son bestowing on this cold and lonely night. Set our hearts aglow. Blessed be the time of the Savior's birth. Blessed be the night unfolding. Waken every nation, sing with joy. For the Son of God beholding. Christ our Savior, the Prince of Peace, with gospel abiding, warm us with your light of love, burning, gleaming,
I think you're
I
muted. I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was saying I love how it has a Christmas wintry feel to it.
It does. It does. It's amazing how music can sound like winter, right? But
Yeah.
choir directors always talk about color and how we change tone, and it gives a different sound. So that one really works. All right, we're sticking with the Christmas theme here, and with so many settings of this text, verbum caro factum est, a setting needs to be really, really great to learn a new one. Which I have to say, by the way, Scott has a really lovely setting. We're not going to be singing through that one, but he's got a beautiful setting of this same.
Why, thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, but this one's great. This is Craig Kingsbury, who's a longtime OCP employee, just recently retired. Way to go, Craig. So let's look at the first. You'll see that pretty Christmassy cover there, but That 10/8 meter there, don't be worried about that because he keeps it really consistent. It's really, 6/8 plus 2/4 consistently through the piece. So really easy for the choir to learn that aspect. Let's take a listen. Takes a little bit of rehearsal time, but I guarantee it's worth it. And all the skilled organists out there are going to love that.
Yes. I also want to mention that all these recordings are conducted by Angela in the amazing acoustic of St. Mary's at the cathedral downtown. And so, Angela, great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With music like that,
yeah, it makes it fun, yeah. Okay, now let's look at a setting of Taste in C by David Hurd. What I really like about David's work here is the way he's incorporated a bit of rhythmic interest without going overboard. It seems like most settings of this text tend to be more legato, and so I like how this approach creates a fresh take on such a commonly used text. Here's Taste in C by David Hurd.
Taste, taste and see. Taste and see. Taste and see. Taste
Those final chords are juicy.
Ah, they are, and so much fun. Those bass part, you are integral in keeping that thing in tune. Believe me, used it, not an easy piece, but so interesting, huh?
Yeah, I
All
really
right,
like.
let's go back to Christmas here. Angelus ad pastores ait. This one's in our Sisters in Song choral series for women's voices. This one has just great energy and it's different. Add this to a carol service in the middle of more passive, beautiful, but this one brings the energy that sometimes is needed at that time. It's scored for 4-part women, but there's just enough repetition to make it easy to learn. So let's take a listen. Isn't that fun? Just let that last chord, especially if you've got a great acoustic, just let that ring. Again, it's not that difficult. It takes a little bit of rehearsal time, but it's worth it. And it goes by pretty quickly, right? It's like a minute and a half.
Right, yeah.
While we were talking about the front of those octavos, I want to just mention that we redesigned a lot of our octavos. They all have color printing again, and some new beautiful artwork. So take a look at that as we go along.
Yeah, I really like what our art director, Judy Urban, came up with on these octavos. All of our series have nice new covers. Okay, on to O Burning Mountain by Father Michael Joncas. This powerful text, there's not a ton of settings out there, so I'm really glad that he took this on. It's by 13th century German mystic Matilda of Helfta, and Father Joncas uses really exquisite harmony. It's completely homophonic, and it just feels right all the way to the final chord. I think the dissonances add just the right amount of spice and interest throughout without too much difficulty. So let's take a listen to O Burning Mountain by Father Michael Joncas.
I'm tearing up here because I love that piece so much. You may see that he actually dedicated that to me, and I could not be more thrilled with that. It's exactly what I love in a choral piece. All phrases beginning in unison with splashes of color, and just the pause in your space is just as important, right? Those rests in there. So it's such a gem, that intimate kind of choral sound that I love.
And you and I a lot of times are so appreciative of those 2-page anthems.
Oh, don't you love those? I know, it's so great. Okay, let's go back to Christmas, or go forward to Christmas, however we think about that. Again, this one's in our OCP choral series, Christmas choral series. This one, the text by the late M.D. Ridge and the musical setting by Timothy R. Smith. It's really a great winning combination. As Scott mentioned on The Light on the Hill, this piece also has both a choir anthem and a hymn version, so making it super useful through the entire Christmas season. Take a listen.
She bore a son and
such a pretty piece, isn't it? I think
Oh,
it's a crowd pleaser. It's just really nice. Those string parts are available online. And like I said, there's a hymn version, and with a text like that, in that fourth verse about Epiphany, and you can use this throughout the whole season. So maybe do the choral anthem at Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and then use it later throughout the season as a hymn version. It's great.
right. Okay, well, I'm going to be using that piece one way or another this Christmas. Let's take a look at what I think is a very useful setting of a James Quinn text by Christopher Walker, Lord, Let Me Love You More and More. It's not too difficult. It employs some of those chant-like unisons along with tasteful, interesting harmony throughout. And of course, this Quinn text is just gorgeous and versatile. The piece is a great anthem for general use. Here we go. I love how he ended that with an open fifth. He didn't put the third in there. Just so nice.
Yeah, I also love that two hearts made one.
Yes.
Such a great,
Unison. Yeah.
nice job with that. I love that piece. Let's go to this next piece in our new Marian choral series, this one by Luke Meyernick. The title of the piece is Perfect Rose. Luke is a really skilled composer, very sophisticated style, but it works with the congregation. So this piece feels like an anthem, but it works really well with an assembly. I've used it for the Feast of the Immaculate Conception and on the fourth Sunday of Advent. Perfect Rose. great text. I mean, following multiple different parts of Mary's life. So it has so much more use. And here's what the assembly would have if you put that in your program. So he's made it feel like a choral anthem, but it's a hymn. So nice job.
Yeah, I like how like even you did on the recording there. So you can approach it with a variety of ways. You could have a solo. You could have. There's just a lot of ways you could use that piece. Okay, next, let's go on to my own setting of Ave Verum Corpus. Now, I used a variety of unison, two-part, and four-part textures, and since this text is so common for communion, having many settings available can be helpful. I know I have, I think, at least 4 that I do. So here we go, Ave Verum Corpus by moi.
Let me rave about Scott's piece for a second, because it would be kind of strange if he did that. So I'm just going to say it, not because Scott's right here. There are just so many things I love about that piece. And again, I use it all the time. So my choir has this sort of in our folder, in our repertoire, like Scott said. Anytime, you might need a piece, another anthem's not really gelling. So I'm like, let's pull that out for after communion. So it's that splash of color, those unisons that I take some tempos a little differently. And I have to say, as conductors, we can do that. No composer is there with you at your rehearsal or Sunday morning. They're not going to care, right? Do what works in your space with your choir. But he's such a skilled composer. And Scott, I just love this piece. So
well, thank you. And the interpretation is so beautiful. So thank you for that. Yeah. Mutual admiration here. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going back to Christmas here. Let's see okay. This Quem Pastores is a hymn you've probably heard, a carol, many times. This particular arrangement is actually using translation by James Quinn. So it's usually done in Latin. This is in English, scored for 4-part choir. It's super accessible, so easily learned. Most 4-part choirs will have no problem. You may notice that the arranger added those alleluias. That's not in the original carol, but I think they add such a nice little interlude kind of feeling to that. Easy. It's nice to do that maybe on Christmas Eve, and it'll take you through the Christmas season. All right, let's move on to, I know I say this a lot, like it's my favorite piece, and I mean it. So all of you composers, if you're out there, I really do mean it. I love this piece. Christ
It's okay to have more than one favorite piece.
I have so many. That's the problem. It's really, really beautiful. I'm just going to let you listen. I don't need to say more.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
it's just delightful, isn't it? Ah, incredible piece, some crunchy chords and word painting and intimate moments. And
Yeah.
I think it's really a gem. I'm not going to lie. It takes some rehearsal time to keep
Sure.
that in tune, but it's
Yeah.
so worth it.
Yeah. Well, it has that Herbert Howells
It does.
feeling
Yep.
of you don't know where it's going to go, but it always goes somewhere amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, okay. Let's move ahead. Of all the pieces today, the text for this next one might speak most directly to our current times. And Craig Kingsbury has, I think, nailed it with his ingenious setting that combines the traditional Spanish text with the English translation. And it's in 7/8, but it feels very natural. And this is one of those pieces that my choir routinely begs me to use. And also, I regularly get unsolicited praise from parishioners whenever we sing it. So let's take a listen to Nada te turbe.
Let nothing trouble
Oh, thank you, tenors, for nailing that last note. Woo!
So
I can just
good.
see the expression on my choir members' faces right now
Yeah.
after finishing that. They're
So
beaming.
proud, huh? Yeah, I know. I can't say enough about that piece. And I always say I can judge a piece on how much more I love it every time we do it, right? Like you
Yeah,
never get tired of that.
right,
So
right.
it's so moving. Craig nailed
Yes.
that. All right, so let's go on to this one. Again, like Scott said, there are just texts you have to have in your repertoire. This is another one. You got to have a lot of settings of God, or you should have a lot of settings of God Be in My Head. This one by Robert Farrell. We heard an arrangement of him earlier. Really beautiful. Let's take a listen to this. Very accessible. That's one thing I love about this.
Yeah.
Lovely, not too difficult. It also just brings comfort, right? To the choir, to the listener.
Yes.
Sweet little.
I love having multiple settings. You know, we do the John Rutter setting quite often, and there's a Walford Davies setting, but it's fun to see if your choir can take to a new setting as much as they have an older one. And my choir loves this one. So, yeah. Great
All
piece.
right. Well, I think we've made it. Have we made it through all 15 pieces? I'm just getting started here.
I
you
know, I want to
guys.
keep going.
So on behalf of OCP and all the people who worked really hard to make this event possible, thank you for spending time with us at this reading session. The choral community is resilient, and I know we are all looking forward to the day we can experience the joy of conducting our choirs again.
Absolutely. And before I forget, if you'd like to check out OCP's choral review service, it consists of a packet of about 25 titles, 3 times a year. Laura will paste that link in chat for you to explore. There's a 20% discount until August 31 for your orders. But anyway, also you can take a look at the choral section on ocp.org, which has been recently refreshed, really easy to navigate and to see all of our different series and everything. So thank you, Laura, for pasting all that information in there. Okay, well, I honestly, I don't have the chat open, so I don't really know. I know Daniel's like being the person in charge of that chat. So, Daniel, do we have any 2 or 3 questions we might answer? Or
Yeah, there were just a couple. The first one is for you, Scott, from
Okay.
Jennifer. What was your inspiration for your setting of the Ave Verum Corpus? She said it's lovely. And how was it to work with that text?
Well, I have to tell you, the Mozart setting is, of course, very beautiful. And I've done that setting so many times that I had the structure of the Mozart setting in my bones. And so when I went down to write my own, it kind of ended up having the same kind of structure with that kind of the last section that comes in so beautifully. And so,
Also the Bird. I hear some of that.
Oh, yeah, right.
The William Byrd setting, which is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And the text, we did a little bit of research on the text because we wanted to print a translation, and we found out that actually there's quite a few different versions of that text out there. So we tried to make it clear what the different options are using of the text over history, so you can do it kind of whichever text you're most familiar with. So yeah, great question. Thanks.
How about this one? Angela, where do you get all the singers for the recordings? And are they all part of the cathedral choir?
Not all part of the cathedral choir. Many of them are. Portland, despite what you're all hearing in the news, which you are all hearing more than we who are living in Portland, let me tell you, everybody's like, are you guys safe there? We're all safe, promise. But thank you for your concern. Portland has so many amazing choral singers. It's really remarkable. And there's lots of professional choirs. So we kind of pull from various places. Quite a few of those folks sing with me on Thursdays and Sundays as well. But they are pretty, I always say it's like instant music. They read the dickens out of the music. And that is so important for our choirs too, right? Sight reading every rehearsal, even if you never do that piece of music. That's another whole workshop. But have your choir reading new music every rehearsal.
When I first started doing church choir directing, it struck me how much music we go through, and I had come from my college background where you spend all semester working on a program, But what I love about church choir, about church music, is that you have to learn a lot, and you have to do it, quickly and learn things quick. It really tightens up your skills as a singer, as a conductor. Yeah, it's one of the best parts of it.
Yeah, one of the things I write about frequently in a little article that is in our liturgy planning magazine is that how early we begin music. I do, and I think we all should, because it takes on something different. Begin it early, like begin Christmas music after Easter, and then spend some time with it. Then you get to it again, and that's when you get the nuance and that beautiful interpretation. So I begin really early.
Well,
another one?
Do we have another question, or should we wrap it up?
No more questions.
Okay, well, great. Well, okay, I wanted to let you all know that we will be making a recording available We'd appreciate any thoughts you have about this event. It's the first time we've ever really done like this live version. So a survey will be sent out. Be brutally honest. Let us know what you think. And as I mentioned before, there's a 20% discount on this page that's showing right now if you want to use that. So yeah, thank you everybody for being here.
Yeah, we understand that this is really difficult for everyone. And in fact, I was moved to tears so many times through the last hour
Yeah.
because I could hear my choir singing all of these. And like you, we really are missing that. So when we get through all of this, OCP is here for you. So we'll be working on useful music for you and your choirs. Give us feedback. And lastly, we want to let you know that we have another one of these coming up in January. So we'll use your feedback from the one. We'll do another one in January 2021. So thanks so
Perfect.
much.
Yeah. Thanks everybody.
Thanks for being with us.
Bye-bye.